Yep.
Hi guys, welcome to the Lunge and Lift podcast. Today is all about teaching old dogs new tricks. It's something that Rob and I have discussed several times in different contexts where some of our clients and athletes are looking to get into something new, maybe try CrossFit for the first time, and they're not sure whether they can or whether somebody's very accomplished in one discipline and looking to switch codes. What are the considerations that you need to make before shifting your focus or taking on something new if you're a little bit longer in the tooth? Where do you want to start, mate? We've got a lot to say on this one.
Yeah, I think it'd be really nice to just touch straight on with basically if you're too old to just get into the gym. I kind of like to start there because I've had clients of varying ages and I still have them, and they may never have been in the gym before, and they were quite intimidated by it. And this wasn't in a CrossFit gym; this is in a commercial facility. And they were a bit intimidated by everyone in there grunting, doing their stuff and stuff. And then so they've hired a trainer. Thankfully, that was me, and it's completely transformed their image of, say, training, not necessarily of the gym, because it can still be quite an intimidating place if you're not necessarily the most confident of person, but the positivity of that person now being more confident in themselves and how they move. And just by going to the gym, it didn't matter how old they were, but now they're getting better based on who they were the day before. Hopefully they're then better than that person. So definitely. What about you? What have you found, especially with like athletes as well?
Yeah, well, just on that topic, I remember taking my mum into gym box one day because basically my cousin came in for a session and she was visiting and staying with my mum, and I took her for a session at gym box and she loved it. Went back and told my mum how great it was. And me having tried to get my mum into fitness or just exercise for probably the last 15 years, the thing that finally got her to take some action was feeling left out because my cousin got a free session and she didn't. So the next week she comes down to London and we walk around gym box, and she was almost the opposite in that she was so oblivious to the freaks on show, like all these absolute monsters lifting ridiculous weights and these absolute gurus of gymnastics like spinning around on their hands and stuff. They didn't even blip on her radar because she's so like not into fitness or interested in it at all.
That's true.
Walk past them, sort of.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Which is quite nice. But it was a very interesting experience, given that she had done no formal exercise her entire life since she played netball at school, and just getting her moving again. It was quite eye-opening to see what a sedentary lifestyle can do over 67 years at the time. But I think one of the points we want to make today is it is never too late to start, and wherever you start, that's where you are. There's no point trying to get her to operate at a level comparable to somebody who's been training regularly for any period of time. She was just able to do what she was able to do on that day, and that's our baseline to then move forwards from. And fast forward maybe a year and a half now since then, and she's doing so much better. Just like back pain's much less than it was, and rarely comes up. Knees don't hurt as much. She's so much more mobile, and just the way she can get through her exercises, she like breezes through a half an hour session compared to it being like an absolute battle to keep her just.
That's great.
So I think from a regular exerciser point of view, that was really motivating and inspiring, just to see that wherever you're starting, there's always one step forwards you can make. In terms of masters athletes, I've got a few I'm fortunate enough to work with, and they're probably the most inspiring of all the athletes because they've come to CrossFit relatively late in the day, and they've all had a bit of sport in their background. So whether it's like mountain biking, one of them, or football or triathlon, they've all got sort of a base of fitness and training, and they've just found CrossFit as their new thing and have gone all guns blazing into it. I think they really impressed me just with their dedication and grit. I think because they're slightly older and they've seen what it takes to achieve in other sports, like the dedication and hard work, they know that's the recipe, versus maybe younger people who haven't had that experience and don't realize what the right balance for them is, like how much they're willing to put in versus get out. And obviously there's considerations around recovery and the volume they can handle. But yeah, I think the point of comparison against their peers versus the fittest guy in the gym, which is one of the points you were making earlier, where say you're in your 40s and you're looking at what the 20-year-old guys are doing, that's not really a fair comparison, which is why the masters age groups exist in the first place, right?
It's true.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of just picking up something new, whatever stage in life you're at. Like me, early 30s, just started running, but loving it. Not very good at it yet, but yeah, I think it's it's still well worth giving everything a little go.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like just pushing yourself into new areas of fitness, so the beauty of CrossFit, I found, is it exposes you to so many styles of fitness that hopefully it does, that it gives you the opportunity to, one, just test your boundaries and see where you're at, but also think, oh, do you know what, I don't like this, or I really like this, and do I want to maybe go a bit deeper into that? Like, for instance, someone might found that they really enjoy the strength side of CrossFit and don't really enjoy the conditioning stuff, which is completely fine. So maybe they want to specialize, even if they are older, into more of the strength training side of it. Yeah. And same as vice versa, that if they find, oh, I really enjoy the rowing workouts, I really enjoy the running, let's gear a bit more into the endurance world, and maybe even start up triathlons if they've never done that, or anything like that. It's like, that's, I think, the beauty of something like CrossFit. And when we're now relating to the age, it's like that we're not necessarily just meaning about, say, an older person going into the gym. We might be meaning, like myself, who was, I think, 20, like I was late 20s, say, and I got into CrossFit. Mm-hmm. And it's like, now that's not too old to be, say, potentially the best in the UK, right? Is it too old to be the best in the world? If who knows? That could be arguable, I guess. But I definitely could be. Look at someone like Josh Alshama, right? He started CrossFit late. He's doing pretty well. Goes along around the scenes, the sanctionals and stuff. He's doing really well. He's able to push himself, and he is in the later side of, like, I don't know if he's 30 yet. I think he is. I'm not sure. I think he might be like 28, 29. But yeah. Besides the point, it's like, come from a bodybuilding background, similar to myself, and sometimes it just takes to get rid of your ego and think, do you know what? I'm a bodybuilder, and this is looking good. I might be, say, late 20s, say early 30s, and I've never, say, tried a muscle up, say, example, or I've never tried that. I've never put myself in a situation to try that. So maybe get rid of the ego and just get yourself in, and don't compare yourself to those 20-year-olds that might be absolutely smashing it, that might be doing it for the past, say, couple of years. And that's where it's really tricky, because comparing yourself to others is, when you're not focused on yourself, especially when you're just starting out, you can be looking at, cool, what can I potentially do in the future? So you're looking around, you're saying, oh, cool, that looks good. I might be able to do that. And when you can't do it in what you think you're capable of, and you're like, why can't I do a muscle up? Yeah, it's been 6 weeks and you could just about do a pull up, but it's like, I should be able to do a muscle up. I'm strong. And it's like, there's so much more to it than that. Exactly. And I think we also touched on as well about not comparing yourself to previous versions of yourself. Yeah. That's like, I know with myself, I look at, say, when I competed in a bodybuilding show, and so I think that was back in 2013, 2014, around then. And I had the ability at that time to be relatively, say, selfish, to focus on my nutrition and training, like solely to compete, which in the bodybuilding world, anyone that's done it knows that you can get very grouchy. It's a very selfish sport to a degree, if you want to do, say, relatively well. And so if I now try and compare myself to that person back then, it's only me still. It's only, say, 5 years ago, but I'm now comparing myself to that, and I'm like, why can't I get that lean as easy? Or maybe it's because I've got other stresses, like I've got a house, I've got a child, I've got all these other things. Maybe it's just not the priority it is that it was back then. And I think that's where, as you get older, I think you start to see things a little bit clearer, but then also people can get stuck in their ways. And that's then where you then might not give yourself the opportunity to try something just to get into the gym if you've never been in it. It's like, I know, say my mum doesn't really like she doesn't like to train. She doesn't like the smell of a gym and stuff. She doesn't like that thing. So it's always put her off of, say, just training. She has gone out for the odd run and that, but she never really liked it.
Yeah.
But she's never then potentially, she used to swim when she was younger, but she's not had the opportunity now for me. I keep drilling. I'll keep trying to get her to try things, but it's just like,
train your cousin, mate. That's what.
And I think I'm trying to train my sister. So I'll be like, yeah, if I train her, maybe she'll see. And but then that's the thing. It's like, can you make someone that's just not been into training get into it? And that's, I think, I think that's half the battle.
Yeah, exactly. Someone's got to want it. Like, you can't make somebody want something. What was I going to say? You just reminded me of something there about the comparison point. Yeah, so I think it relates well to the lockdown learnings we were talking about last time, where a lot of people hang on to their historic PBs or best ever performances, and because they're not there at that current moment in time, they feel like a failure and they feel like they're not doing things right. But you have no right to compare yourself to that point in time, because the previous few weeks or months are probably nothing like the previous weeks or few months in the build up to that PB. And in lockdown, it's a really good thing to remind people of, because they're not going to have been in a gym regularly for months, so they won't have had access to the same equipment, the same level of training. And if they come in expecting to hit the same numbers and performances as they had done previously, when they might have never had a break that long in their life from going to the gym. Like, I've certainly never not been to the gym for 4 months in my life since I started training. So if that's the case, you can't have a reasonable expectation to be hitting the same level of performance in gym-based exercise as you would have done. And just having an honest appraisal of where you're currently at and what a reasonable expectation is. It's like we were saying before the call, of like, I just PB'd my 5K run time, and I was annoyed that I didn't PB it by more, even though the training I'd done for it in the last couple of months had been less than the previous time I had tested it. Which, if I was coaching somebody through that, I'd say, well, why did you expect to PB at all, let alone more than more than you actually did based on the couple of months training? And I think we have this tendency in human nature to compare ourselves to these artificial targets, which are completely made up in your own head and based on nonsense, really, whether it's other people's point of views or your unrealistic expectations from yourself. And as relates to the older athletes, the most common things are comparing themselves to younger athletes or comparing themselves to their all-time best ever shape that they were in when they were younger. So avoid that pitfall.
Yeah, I think when it comes to, I'd say, like that comparison side of things, when you're thinking about if you're too old for something, that relates to more than just fitness. That can go into like the world of, say, business, whether you're too old to change careers, whether you're too old to start a business. And people might be thinking of that when they're, say, like mid-20s. People is like, you're never too late for anything unless you're dead.
Yeah.
Pretty much, that's saying you left it a little bit too long. But in the grand scheme of things, it's like, if you are willing to make a change and understand that it's going to, one, be uncomfortable, you're going to be well outside your, probably other things are going to be a factor. Like, for instance, say, for instance, you're changing a job. You have financial implications potentially. You have maybe a family to think about. So you're then thinking, oh, I'm going to now put everything on the line because I want to change my career. And it happens. And, and a lot of time people change it and they're like, this is the best thing I've ever done. Their quality of life goes up. And that then flips straight into then training. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go into the gym. I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to experiment. I'm going to see. I might get on a bike and start cycling. I absolutely love it. It's like, exactly. Or even get out on the roads and run, just like everyone was at the start of lockdown. It's like, just start something. You're never too old. And even if that means just walking. I was telling you just before we start recording, and it's like my gran, who's I think she's nearly 90. It's like, so she is still got all her marbles. She is relatively still active. You know, she danced a lot of her life. She made sure she'd always get on the bus and go to like the local shopping mall, walk around the mall. You know, she's always stayed physically active and keep herself mentally switched on by, say, knitting and stuff like that. So she's still having to read patterns and stuff like that. So these are the type of things where it's like, her level of fitness of trying to stay fit and improve is cool. Is she still being able to get out and go for a walk? Is she still able to move around her flat comfortably? That's the thing. It's like, and then it's her level of fitness isn't going to be compared to anyone's except for her own, and she doesn't care about anyone else's. She's like, cool, can I still walk to the bathroom in time? Yeah, she can. I think, and that's what's great. Now that's why it's so important. And she's been a massive, like a role model for me for thinking about, as you get older, to not stop training. Where in whatever form of fitness that is, it's so important to keep moving, because that means that as you do get older, as we know, there are some like medical things like osteoporosis, where your bones, essentially, you want to make sure they stay strong as you get older. So we don't want brittle bones. So there are many benefits to weight training, but for me, it just shows the benefits of just staying moving, because she has never weight trained in her life, but she's danced, so she's kept her joints mobile. She's moved in many planes of direction. And you look at someone like that and you're just like, you're now nearly 90, still walking around, still got all the screws loose. And she's not too late. And do you know what I mean? And it's such a nice thing to see, because I've got a client as well, and you know, she's a little bit older, and she got into training just with me, and she's smashing it now. You know, doing sandbag deadlifts. We were doing some sandbag to the shoulder the other day, because in lockdown, one of the main things I said to a lot of my clients was, get yourself like a laundry bag of Amazon, get yourself some sand and put it in there, and there you go. You've now got home weight on the cheap. So rather just like, we did body weight stuff, but I was like, if you can have an external load like that, that's great. And now she's smashing it, and that's the thing, she's doing so well, and I'm sure she's going to be listening to this podcast. Hello, Sue. So she's absolutely smashing it at the moment, and it shows that it's never too late to get into fitness at any age. So
definitely, yeah, it's so inspiring to see people just crack on with it, I think. And I think, like my parents, training them and just seeing them enthusiastic about keeping moving, because like you say, it's just about never stopping. I think that's the thing that unfortunately happens to some old people, where they lose confidence or lose the enthusiasm for exercise or activity, and it's very difficult to break that habit, because the body just gets used to whatever you repeatedly ask it to do. So if you're asking it to just sit on the sofa all day every day, it gets very good at that and very bad at everything else. Whereas the old people that tend to do well are the ones that just never stop, and they're constantly reminding their body that it's there to move, it's there to do things, it's there to pick stuff up and just keep on going and
be functional, right?
Exactly, like the body was meant to move, it wasn't meant to just be stationary. And that's where like osteoporosis and stuff like that sets in, because there's no reason for the bones to stay strong. Whereas if they're constantly experiencing a little bit of impact from walking or running, or that has a lot of force going through it, like lifting weights. In Australia now, a lot of physiotherapists prescribe deadlifts to old people because it puts more force through the bones and has been shown to reverse osteoporosis. And I think from the point of view of just maintaining health as you get older, training becomes more important rather than something you should slack off.
I guess it's just then obviously your goals change. And I think just what I want to maybe like just bring it back to for, say, our younger listeners, and thinking, how the hell does any of it really, I don't get how does this apply to me? And that's basically, when it comes to you trying new things, don't ever be put off by your age. And that's the thing. It's like, even for someone like myself, so I'm now 31. Yeah, 31. Just checking. And it's like if I now want, so I'm not going to double the. I'm pushing myself back into my powerlifting side of things. So I want to hit some good numbers, but I'm also getting right back into cycling. I want to try and. I'm obviously not going to go to say top level competition, but I'm really getting back into that. And where I have some good potential there. I want to see what I've got left from when I was a kid. So it's just interesting. And I'm now not afraid to. I look around because I look at someone like my dad and like he absolutely smashed it. He only started fitness in 2012, I think it was. We did Men's Health 500 Fitness 10K, and so he's just around 50ish, right? And since then, he's only just absolutely dominated. Anyone that's seen my dad train, I know he did the thing with Wit, and I was like, yeah, he does triathlons now. He's on Ironmans, and he's smashing it. And he only got into it less than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Before that, he just didn't train. So his life was like a mechanic and dispatch rider. So he's very physical, very active, but he never fully trained. And now he's doing really well. And that's the thing. So he wasn't afraid. He now compares himself, say, to other people in his category, which is, again, if you're in a competitive field, you should compare to others and say, cool, I need to beat them. Yeah. But you can only be better than who you was yesterday.
Yes.
And that's, I think, the biggest takeaway that I want all the listeners, and I think that we both want all the listeners to hear, is that don't compare yourself necessarily to others around you as the sole focus, and look at who you was yesterday and are you improving, whether that's just feeling better, moving better, or moving faster or whatever. But it really does mean you can teach old dogs new tricks, right?
I think so. One question. Do they have weight class cycling?
I don't know. I need to, because it's true. But I don't actually know. I need to look into that. But it's
because if you're competing against like 57 kilo guys, I think that's a bit of a disadvantage if you're lugging around extra.
In the power, but then the same thing. I might be able to produce more power.
Definitely more power, but
then I'll be heavier on the bike.
Yeah.
I don't know, actually. That's a really interesting thought. I'm going to look into that.
Yeah. They always look at watts per kilo. So that's the thing.
I'm just thinking about that because obviously in powerlifting, obviously it's based on a weight, which is fair enough. So I guess I don't see why not. But the only thing is when I like the triathlon, I just did stuff like that. I've never been weighed.
Yeah. And I've not heard of it before, but it just made me have a thought because one of my mates who's very into cycling is basically trying to get as light as possible, and he's pretty light already. I think he might be sub 70 kilos, and he's just trying to waste himself away just so he's got no upper body to improve his watts per kilos. And
but on the flip side to that, if your watts per kilos is better, that doesn't necessarily make you better, because it might mean you have more power to weight ratio. But it doesn't mean you'll be faster than, say, me, if you know what I mean. You might have more power, but I might have more power in general, so I'm still ahead of you. Do you know what I mean?
No, because you are heavier, so it's relative to your body weight. Because obviously on the bike, you've got to move your body weight. So if your power compared to your body weight is better, you should be faster.
But if I pass the finish line first, I'm still beating him anyway. Like even if he is wasting himself away.
Yeah.
Even if he's, do you know what I'm getting at? Yeah.
I know.
So it's just the thought going through my head. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But yeah, I think it's the same as rowing, right? If you're more powerful but heavy, like you're more heavy than you are more powerful, you're still slower in the water.
Yeah. True.
It doesn't matter if you could be the most powerful man on the planet, but if you weigh so much that's negated. Like if you put Brian Shaw on a bike, he'd probably produce more watts than almost anybody else, but because he weighs so much, he wouldn't be faster than my mate who's got a much better watts per kilogram.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm just thinking, that's like all the numbers are ticking around in my head. Sorry, that's obviously a tangent. This is what these podcasts are. These are our discussions that we record, and obviously if they go off on tangents, they go off on tangents. It's definitely something I think we need to talk about a bit more, because I'm interested to kind of get what I'm thinking about. Anyway, guys, I think that's it. I think before we go off on too much of a tangent, Really appreciate all the listeners. We were just looking at our statistics and they're growing, which is amazing. So thank you for everyone that has been, say, sharing our podcast and, you know, telling other people about it. That's how we're hoping to grow. So, you know, as always, you can find us on all the usual platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. And if you have enjoyed it, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts because it really helps us grow. And apart from that, thanks a lot for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, guys.